Okay, honorable members,
Yes.
I am told that the honorable premier, his presentation was as such that he has to start over because internet challenges was as such that we could not pick up much of what was said. So I invite the honorable premier and Minister of Finance to start over.
Let me just be find out for clarity. The introduction of the bill was picked up, though.
Yes, the introduction was picked up,
Okay.
but just your objectives and reasoning.
Thank you. Well, may I start now, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, honorable premier.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I'd like to say it's a pleasure to be here introducing this uh, Noble Bill, Integrity in Public Life Act 2021. As I stated that since taking office and even before, our government promised the people, was a solemn promise to the people of the Virgin Islands to ensure that in integrity legislations are brought forward to further strengthen our capacity to govern ourselves and to police ourselves. We have done so with the ministerial code, which dictates the conduct of ministers. We've done so with the contractor general legislation to ensure that there's accountability with contracts from the day that they are signed and even before, to make sure that the whistleblower, that if anyone sees anything that is going wrong with government, that they can say so and be protected. But also, if there's false information, you also will pay the penalty. In many other areas, with the Human Rights Commission coming forward very soon, and also with the Freedom of Information Act, and also the certain changes with the Registrar of Interest Act. So there are many areas we have done. We won't be able to name all, and many more to come that we won't be able to name all. But they'll be in the best interest of further strengthening our ability and capacity as Virgin Islanders to govern ourselves. I make it clear that no one has forced this government to bring any of these legislation, including the one today. No one has insisted. No one has uh, done anything at all to say that we have to do it or else. There has been no ultimatum. There has been nothing other than the government of the Virgin Islands keeping its solemn promise with the people of the Virgin Islands to move forward with further strengthening good governance by introducing such legislation. So the Integrity in Public Life Act 2021, which your government has brought forward on our own initiative, and I repeat, on our own initiative, reflects the principles which Virgin Islanders have long subscribed to and which is reflected in our Constitution. Good governance principles of selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership in the conduct of public affairs. It reflects that our society is based on moral, spiritual, and democratic values, and that Virgin Islanders have developed themselves and their country based on qualities of honesty, integrity, mutual respect, and among other noble principles. Prior to our taking office in February 2019, the Virgin Islands Party expressed our commitment to further strengthening the good governance legislation of the Virgin Islands. Members of the public would recall that during my tenure in opposition and as leader of the opposition, I called for good governance legislation. We have always said that as people of the Virgin Islands, we must police ourselves. Otherwise, others will come in and do it for us. Being able to police ourselves is part of the journey of political maturity. This legislation, which your government has brought forward on our own initiative, is an important milestone for our journey towards increased self-determination whenever our people decide to move in that direction. The Integrity in Public Life Act 2021 primarily affects persons in public life, but it can affect ordinary citizens as well in several ways. For instance, it will tell you what your rights and expectations are under the Act, so you can know if a person in public life is infringing on your rights and expectations, and then you may have grounds to lodge a complaint. You may not be a person in public life, but a close family member might, and therefore there may be issues such as conflict of interest and insider information that you need to be mindful of. Things that may seem casual can have the potential to be viewed in a different light based on the act. The Integrity Commission established under the Act has among its functions to receive and investigate complaints regarding any breaches or non-compliance with the provision of the Act, to conduct investigations into corruption, to refer to it by any person, to make recommendations and to advise public bodies of any changes in practices and procedures which, in the opinion of the Commission, will reduce the likelihood or the occurrence of acts of corruption, and to conduct educational programs and training relating to the role of Commission in promoting ethical conduct in the performance of its functions under the Act. The Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority. The Integrity Commission is empowered under the Act to hold such inquiries and conduct such as investigations as it considers necessary in relation to any alleged corruption or breach of any other provisions of the Act. Complaints may be made in writing to the Commission or orally before a member of staff designated to receive such complaints. The Act also has checks and balances to guard against abuse. Any person who knowingly and mischievously makes or causes to be a false report to the Commission or misleads the Commission by giving false information or by making false statements or accusation commits an offense and liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding $20,000 or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years or both. The Integrity in Public Life Act 2021 gives life to the Code of Conduct for Persons in Public Life. Under the code, a person in public life shall ensure that he or she performs his or her functions and administers the public resources for which he or she is responsible in an effective and efficient manner, and shall be fair and impartial in exercising his or her public duty, afford no undue preferential treatment to any group or individual, and arrange his or her private interests, whether pecuniary or otherwise, in such a manner as to maintain public confidence and trust in his or her integrity. Under the Code of Conduct for Persons in Public Life, which is part of the Integrity in Public Life Act 2021, a person in public life shall not use his or her office for the improper advancement of his or her own or his or her family's personal or financial interests, or the interests of any person, engage in any activity that may result in or be perceived as conflict of interest with his or her office, function, and duty, or the execution of his or her duties, directly or indirectly use his or her office for private gain, or use information gained in the execution of his or her office, and which is not available to the general public to further or seek to further his or her private interests. Mr. Speaker, I've just given a very, very, very precise and precis form of what's in this bill. But I want to state, Mr. Speaker, that there was extensive public consultation with this bill over the last few months, Mr. Speaker. We have had persons also given written in and also given areas that they felt could tighten the bill, or certain areas they felt needed adjusting in this bill. So it is not a bill that has been rushed to this House of Assembly. We have had meetings, Mr. Speaker, from Anegada to Jocelyn Dyke. We have had meetings on public forums, even over social media. This bill here has been exhaustively discussed. Mr. Speaker, it is time for us to continue to further strengthen our ability to police ourselves as a territory, so that in the eventuality that we ever decide to make the next step towards self-determination, we would have shown to us, the world, but more so to ourselves, that we can police ourselves. I welcome, Mr. Speaker, the debate on this long-awaited bill, the Integrity in Public Life. It is a fitting Christmas gift to give to the people of the Virgin Islands. It shows this government's commitment to good governance, and may I say, Mr. Speaker, that there has been no government before this government that has been bold enough to bring forward all these suite of good governance legislation in the best interest of not only our present generation, but our future generation, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that people in public life, elected or otherwise, Mr. Speaker, have legislation that keeps them in with checks and balances and avoid anyone, Mr. Speaker, going rogue and avoid a lot of the gossip, Mr. Speaker, whereas now you can come forward and if there's facts, it can be dealt with. Too many people's character, Mr. Speaker, has been destroyed in this country due to false information, due to in other words, inaccurate information, Mr. Speaker, and due to persons' personal agendas. And Mr. Speaker, this government, through bringing this legislation, is putting another stopgap to that, which gives a balance to both the person accused and the person who's making the accusation. So, Mr. Speaker, that the truth can come out and persons can be dealt with according to the law, Mr. Speaker, and according to the facts of the information. And it also saves time and money for the country from waiting way down the line to hold commission of inquiries costing us millions of dollars, Mr. Speaker. These things can be dealt with up front, Mr. Speaker, and the commission, which will be acting independently, can deal with these matters. So in the future, by the time we reach the commission of inquiry, if we ever have to get there, Mr. Speaker, there are layers of good governance structures and vehicles that we have been able to travel through that would have been able to save us our reputation and our name from being unduly tarnished in some cases, Mr. Speaker, although it is always good for us to be tested and to see if our structures are really living up to what we are saying. So, Mr. Speaker, on that short introduction, I say that this is my Merry Christmas gift to the people of the Virgin Islands, the passing of this integrity in public life. It shows that we're not about talk when it comes to whether be projects or legislation to ensure that we improve the quality of life of our people. And we've been bringing more legislation, Mr. Speaker, even to help our people, Mr. Speaker, to strengthen, whether it be in the consumer protection area, we have already passed legislation with that, and the Business Act, when it's passed, we'll be able to bring that into force, strengthen our capacity to deal with our financial institutions, Mr. Speaker, in many more areas. So there are a lot of other legislations that we're going to bring, Mr. Speaker, that will give the people of the Virgin Islands, Mr. Speaker, a fair deal, no matter what their financial standing is, no matter, Mr. Speaker, their educational level, they'll be given the same treatment and the same access for balanced treatment in the Virgin Islands. So, Mr. Speaker, on that, I'm glad to present this Integrity in Public Life Act 2021. And Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion and I reserve my right to speak in the debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, we will now recess for 1 hour. And when we return, the floor will be open for debate, starting first with the senior member for the 3rd District, then the honorable member for the 2nd District, and we'll proceed accordingly. This honorable House now stands in recess until 3 p.m. 3 p.m. House is in recess.